The next morning, as His Highness was leaving the palace, he noticed that his daughter, who saw him off every time he left, had not come today. And for traveling, he wouldn't see her for a while. The butler told him that my lady was busy. Most likely his lordship could see her later. The earl inquired of him, "What is she busy with?" The butler told him she was in the library. "She's studying spirits. A few days ago, a man was sent to the church, and in addition to mentioning spirits, she is also looking for proof of their existence and public appearances." When His Highness heard those words, he thought, why was he so curious? Since she has the blood of the Farvis family flowing in her, it's likely that her abilities will reveal themselves. The Duke thought as he approached the carriage. As he stepped into it with one foot, something flashed through his mind. He grabbed his head and almost fell down. His servants immediately ran up to him and asked him what had happened to him. The Count didn't want to make a fuss and said that he must have been too tired. But he didn't tell anyone what was really bothering him. That seemed to be it, because every night he had nightmares. When the Duke came to his senses a bit, he got into the carriage and set off. Meanwhile, Kiira sat in the palace by the window with a mug and wrote something down. Looking out the window, she saw the maids talking among themselves. She wished that someday she too would talk to many people. But when she thought about it, she felt uncomfortable. Cosette wasn't bothered by such things at all. She remembered her past life as walking through the palace park, she saw Cosette interacting with her maids. Kiira was constantly making remarks to her. If she wanted to be part of the Farvis family officially, she had to become an elegant, noble woman. But Cosette disagreed with her. If she acted like a nerdy noblewoman, she would end up all alone. She said to Kiira when they were alone together. Kiira continued to think. What was so important about the status of nobles or their authority? Had she been wrong all this time? Just then her musings were interrupted by the maid Rose. She entered my lady's room and asked her, had she finished reading the letters? Kiira replied that a few more minutes and she would soon be done with it. Here we see a piece of paper on which is written a letter from Kiira to her grandfather. Deeply respected maternal grandfather. I have urgent business to attend to you, Kiira wrote to him. Her grandfather's name was Marcus Simon Edinburgh. Although he's a greedy and cruel man who uses Zeke and her to bolster his authority. He is very intelligent and sometimes didn't ignore her letters. As the events of the present may unfold according to her dream, she needs someone to help her in case of anything. Within the family, it is almost realistic to find someone escaping his lordship's gaze. Therefore, she must seek an ally outside the family. She decided to start by contacting the family related to her mother at the beginning of the reception at the banquet. The girl continued to write the letter. She hoped to meet him at the banquet in the near future. All she had to do was mail the letter. She handed the letter to Russ and told the maid to make sure the letter was delivered personally to her grandfather. The maid replied that the girl could have no doubts about it. Now all the girl had to do was to find out what banquets he would attend. She asked Rose to bring all the invitations that had been sent to her. When the maid heard my lady's request, she was overjoyed. Would she really be going to the banquets? Kiira didn't understand. Why was her maid so excited and asked why she was excited? The maid replied that she was very happy. After all, this is the first time my lady will be going there alone. You never know when a fateful encounter awaits you. Dancing with a handsome man to beautiful music. It's so exciting. After the maid's words, Kiira was even more eager to see all the invitations she had. She asked the maid to bring them over quickly. After a while, His Highness arrived back at the palace. When he walked in, he saw Kiira asking the butler why he got rid of the invitations. The butler began to apologize. He said that previously she had always declined all invitations. and he figured it would be the same this time. The Count didn't understand what was going on and asked his daughter what was going on here. The girl told him that Robert had gotten rid of the invitations that were meant for her. The Count was very surprised by such words of the girl. Was she really planning to accept them? The girl replied that of course she wanted to go to the ball. From the very foundation, the Farvis family had always remained neutral. Because they were family and blessed by the gods. They must know that they could not afford to get embroiled in useless political conflicts. The Earl began to teach his daughter. But she said she wanted to go to the ball because she was tired of sitting at home. Being in this house was depressing for her. But suddenly regaining her senses, the girl apologized. The words she had been holding back finally came out. After listening, her father replied that if she starts communicating with other noble families, a lot of rumors will come out. Therefore, he wants to know in advance what she plans to do. The girl remembered that her father only cared about the family's reputation and his obligations. So to make sure he lets her off the hook, she said that she is the right age for marriage. Perhaps she wants to find herself a husband. The maids and the Duke were surprised by her words. But so they wouldn't think anything of it, she added that she didn't want to get married now. She's just using that as an excuse. Her father didn't understand why she wanted to go out of her way to use such an excuse. Well, the girl said she was the one to ask. Didn't he care about what she was doing as long as she wasn't causing trouble for the family? Even though her father didn't like it, he still let her go. When they left the room with Robert, he turned to him. He asked him to report on all the events she attended, everyone she met, and all her activities. The next day, Kiira sat in her room, sorting through her letters. When she looked out the window, she saw Sir Joseph and Sir Arthur. Since she missed them, she ran outside to see them. The two men were also very happy to see her. They had not seen each other for a long time. They asked her how she had spent her vacation. The girl told them that it had been fun. She seemed to have new interests, just as Sir Joseph had told her. Sir Arthur was very curious about what the princess had become interested in. But she replied that it was a secret. She did not want to admit that she took pleasure in this interest, for it seemed to her something vulgar. She was sure she would not enjoy it. Sir Arthur said he seemed to guess what a hobby she had developed. He thought the girl had started gambling at the casino. He was very nervous at first, but he actually thought it was fun. This guy doesn't hide anything about himself, said Sir Joseph. In his defense, the young fighter said that it was against the law. He was so excited to tell this to the princess that he invited her to go out with him this weekend. Since she didn't want to outright refuse because it would hurt Sir Arthur. Sir Arthur invited her because he wanted to share his interests with her, so a little embarrassed, but she still said yes. Sir Joseph was against it. He told my lady she needn't force herself if she didn't want to. But the girl said she wanted to go with them. It's her chance to bond with the knights. Since Her Highness has decided to go there, Sir Joseph has taken responsibility for her safety in that place. Arthur was surprised at such words from his captain. After all, he had previously said that he hated such places and would never go to such establishments. This comment of his subordinate seemed to embarrass Joseph. At his subordinate's yell, he turned to Her Highness. He said they would see each other over the weekend. After that, they left the young lady in the garden and went about their business. The girl remained near the stairs and waved to them until they were out of sight. When they were no longer in sight, she turned to herself. Had she really agreed to go to the casino? Alcoholic drinks, immoral affairs, and now gambling, how was she behaving? But she started to calm herself down a bit. She just wants to try something she didn't do in her previous life. She told herself that when she goes to the casino, she will just look around instead of gambling for large sums of money. While she was thinking about this, she didn't notice Sir Joseph coming up behind her. He brought her an herbal elixir. He wanted to apologize to her for eating it that day. The girl said she would definitely drink it. She was very embarrassed. She had had so much too much alcohol that she can't remember what happened afterward, but she was told that Joseph took care of everything. Sir Joseph said he was very glad she enjoyed the party. The other knights were also happy to have spent time with the society. That was why that evening was beautiful. The girl smiled because she was glad that that evening had gone well. A very good one. She asked Sir Joseph to take care of her some more if it was needed. They said their goodbyes, and after a while, Viscountess Shore arrived at their palace. Kiira approached her. She had heard that her father had asked for her help in organizing the banquets because of her inexperience. Though she lacked experience, she would do her best to learn quickly. The Viscountess reassured Milady. Though the deadline was near, she would still be able to complete her training on time. The girl thanked her and asked her to take care of her. There wasn't much time left before Cosette would show up. She's going to learn more about time travel magic. But also for yesterday, her father will definitely increase his surveillance of her actions. It's going to be hard to send a person to the magic tower unnoticed. What should she do? Pondered as she sat at the table. She was interrupted from her musings by the Viscountess. The girl immediately apologized. She said that this was her first experience, so she had a lot of thoughts in her head. The Viscountess sitting at the table with Kiira began to teach her. Come to think of it, she had very little interaction with high society. Her son tries his best to avoid social events. And that worried her. The Viscountess said with a heavy sigh. Here we see her son sitting in the magical library. His mother was very curious. What is so wonderful about magic that he sits in a magic tower all day long? It was even hard for her to meet him. Since he was good at magic, everyone would tell her, "Isn't it wonderful?" Kiira froze in surprise. This was her chance sent from heaven. She told him that she was also interested in magic. Hearing her story made her very eager to meet her son. The woman was overjoyed. She was honored. She said that she would arrange for them to meet later. They chatted with the Viscountess for a while longer, and then she left. Walking down the stairs, Kiira thought. This is a good thing since she didn't have any ties to the magic tower before. She had heard that it was very difficult to learn spatial time magic. She had said that Sir Shore was a talented mage. Now she would look forward to their meeting with anticipation. Suddenly, she was called by a servant girl who was peeking out from behind the door. She told her that Rose had asked her to give her a book. Kiira guessed that it must be Emily. When she started talking to her, she noticed two other maids standing nearby. She said that the two of them didn't need to hide, so they could safely approach. Kiira wanted to get to know them a little better, so she asked them to tell her what the book Rose had given her was about. She wanted to hear their comments first, before she started reading the book. The maids, though unsure, agreed. This story is about a simple maid who meets a prince and is elevated to the position of empress. After they told the story, they turned to my lady. If she wanted to, she could meet so many handsome men. If the protagonist in this novel was her, who would she want to meet? After all, it is said that the biggest concern of any noble woman is finding a good husband. High society is the place to find partners. The maids were talking, too. Milady realized that she had never thought about romance. Now that she thought about it, she too wanted to be with someone like Earl Graham. One of the maids turned to the girl. She had heard that Milady was thinking of going to a ball or tea party. The princess replied that she might be able to make it to one of those events. They asked. So from her because they wanted to look at the evening gowns and jewelry. Hearing their desire, Kiira said they could help Rose prepare the dress for the event. The maids were very excited and thanked Her Highness. Kiira noticed that she was starting to talk to the subjects about what they liked. The atmosphere had improved and was different from before. She was glad that they were getting closer, if only a little. After a short silence, she asked the maids, "What if she went to the ball alone?" One of the maids said she'd read about it in a book. Ladies without a beau, the loners who stand in the corner outside the ballroom. There's no reason to worry about that. There would be tons of people who would want to talk to her. Not to mention, she's not going there alone. What does she have to worry about? After saying that, it was like it hit her. She had completely forgotten about this. She always went to such events with His Excellency. But this time, she didn't think he would accommodate her schedule. Then a maid suggested asking one of the knights. But Kiira said that she wasn't close enough to them to ask for such a thing. One of the maids smilingly told her that she already represented several knights who would be sad to hear them say that. Just as she was about to speak, a voice came from behind the princess. It was Sir Joseph. He had come here to accompany her. With him was also Sir Arthur, who came along with a girl from his squad. By the way, this girl gave her the hat she asked for. Kiira said she would be gone for a while, and the four of them walked out of the manor. Kiira couldn't believe that she was actually going to the casino right now. She was very happy that it was break time and there were no servants around. But suddenly she meets her brother on the way. He wiped his eyes and asked her where she was going. Is she allowed to leave at this time of day? Zeke asked her with his eyes wide open. Kiira thought that her brother feels lonely sitting at home all day. But she can't take him to the casino, but just looking around there, she figured nothing bad would happen. After thinking for a bit, she suggested her brother to go along with them. Her brother was very excited that his sister had called him along. He said he would take his coat with him and run to them at once. When they were in the carriage, only then was he told that they were going to the casino. The boy was not happy about his sister doing such a thing. Even though he was small, he still started reprimanding the royal guards for their recklessness. To keep the boy from panicking too much, Kiira said that the casino was legal and approved by the imperial palace. She said they wouldn't be betting money, but looking around. It's for exploring the outside world. Lively, his sister told him. When they arrived at the casino, it looked very rich and bright. When they went inside, Sir Joseph asked her how she liked it here. The girl replied that she thought it was much worse in this establishment. Sir Joseph suggested that if she was uncomfortable, he could take her to the VIP lounge. If she reveals her identity, then she... Before Joseph could make a deal, he was interrupted by Kiira. She said she liked it here. But she's lost sight of her brother and Sir Arthur. And here we see her instructing the young master. Today he will try his luck. Sir Joseph told the princess that every so often when Arthur comes to this establishment, he first plays roulette. Arthur began to persuade young Zeke to place a couple of bets. But the boy still didn't want to. He didn't want to do it because there are such idiots who can't stop wasting their money and will soon go bankrupt. You have to control yourself and don't waste your time doing stupid things, says the boy. When my lady saw the gambling table, she was very curious and wanted to make one bet. The croupier told her that she had to put the chips on the right number. She can choose only one number to bet the maximum of 4. Then the dealer spins the wheel. If the ball lands on the number she chose, she wins. If it doesn't, it's a loser. So you can win by pure chance. It seems that Kiira was quite a gambler. If she came here, she can't leave empty-handed. She placed a bet. The dealer threw the ball. After a few seconds of waiting, they saw that the girl had won. After she won, she offered to place a bet to her brother. She gave him some chips for the first time. If he didn't want to play, he could just trade them. And she became interested in playing other games in the place. So she went further down the hall. After a few hours, they had a whole bag of chips that could be exchanged for a good amount of money. The girl who came along with Arthur asked Milady where she wanted to spend the money that would be exchanged for those chips. But she was alarmed by Joseph. He said that they just want to fool her. That way they want to eat at her expense. Kiira really enjoyed sitting in this establishment. She wanted to come here again, but with everyone. When they were about to leave, a waiter came up to them and handed a letter to Milady. He said that Count Sabier had delivered a message. He asked if she wanted to play larger games. The girl who read the message said that she didn't plan to leave a huge amount of money, so she was going home. She asked him to tell him that she was willing to play small games.